Erev Tov, everyone. It is Wednesday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here in the diaspora. This is the Maimon Beit Knesset. Therefore, it is the Torah study with Rabbi A and Rabbi Ancel. So let's bring Rabbi Ancel in now.
Erev Tov, everybody, and welcome to another night studying Torah.
Okay, let me get the parsha up here for you.
Perfect. I magnified it 1.5 times so I can see it perfectly.
Oh, good, good. Okay, because I don't think I can get it any bigger on my screen. I have a 26-inch screen, and it fills the screen. And Anshul keeps saying, "I can't see it. I can't see it." Okay, so we'll do this the same way we did it last week. I'll read the verse, and then Rabbi Anshul will read Rashi's commentary, and then I'll read the additional commentaries if there's anything really significant there. So just so you, we left off last week. This is going to be chapter 32, verse 32. And where we are going to pick up tonight.
Amen.
Okay, verse 32. And now, if you would but bear their sin, but if not, erase me now from your book that you have written.
But it says, and now if you forgive their sin, good. I will not ask you to erase me, but if not, erase me. This is an elliptical verse, and there are many like it. From your book, from the entire Torah, so that they will not say about me that I was unworthy to beg mercy for them.
Okay, let's see. Is there any additional commentary here? We have. Okay, so where it regards this thing about erase me and it being an abbreviated verse, the additional commentary says Rashi calls the verse abbreviated because it does not contain a clause that tells what would happen if the first condition, if you would but bear their sin, is fulfilled. Rashi supplies the missing clause on the basis of the one provided by the verse in the second condition. Let's see. Anything else on this one? Does not look. Nope. No, that's all the additional commentary on that. So we'll go from 32 to 33. Hashem said to Moshe, whoever has sinned against me, I shall erase him from my book. And there is no Rashi's commentary on that, so we'll go from 33 to 34. I'm surprised there's no commentary on that. So, verse 34, and now go lead the people to that which I have spoken to you. Behold, my angel shall go before you, and on a day that I make my accounting, I shall bring their sin to account against them.
So the place which he has spoken to you, it's the Hebrew word dibarti lo. Here we find the lamet used with dibur, speech, instead of eli. Similarly, in the verse to speak to him, ledaber lo, for Adonaihu, which is in Kings 2:19.
Let me scroll that up for you.
Yeah,
There
behold
you
my angel, but not I. But on the day I make accounting, now that I have listened to you, not to destroy them all at once, but always and always when I take an accounting of their sins, I will also count a little of this sin with the other sins. This means that no punishment befalls Israel in which there is not part of punishment of sin of the golden calf, because that one sin that the Israelites committed by the golden calf will never be forgotten or forgiven.
Okay, so additional commentary on this one, going back to the lamed and the conjunction of with the verb for speaking. The additional commentary says the lamed prefix of pronouns that follow the root dalid vet resh usually mean about or on behalf of. See Rashi to Genesis 24:7 and 28:15 and 2:4:16 above. The Maharsha to Tractate Sota, Folio 11b, for another exception to the general rule. Okay. Let's see. What is this? Okay, so this referring to the similarity to the to speak to him about Adonijah. Further commentary says from 1 Kings chapter 2 verse 19, but see Rashi's commentary to the verse, which appears to contradict the interpretation, if I can get my mouth to work right, interpretation he gives here. Aha. So even the mighty Rashi has some issues. Okay, continuing on here. This is a little more interesting. Behold my angel, but not I. The further commentary said, God is speaking of the punishment he will inflict upon Israel when he says, behold my angel will go before you. Rashi explains why being led by an angel is a punishment. And that is it for the further commentary. So we will move on to verse
35.
35. Is there any commentary? Yeah, there is commentary on there. Okay, let me roll that up. Verse 35, Hashem smote the people with a plague because they had made the calf that Aharon made.
This was death by the hands of heaven for those who sinned in the presence of witnesses without warning. And that's written in Yoma 66b. And you can see the commentary on going back to verse 20.
Yeah. There is no further commentary. It's just basically there's references to other places in the Torah. So we'll go on to we'll go on to chapter 33, verse 1. Let me get that up there. Okay. 33, verse 1. Lug. Okay. Hashem spoke to Moshe, go ascend from here, you and the people whom you brought up from the land of Mitzrayim, to the land about which I swore to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov, saying, I shall give it to your offspring.
He said, go and ascend from here. The land of Israel is higher than all the other lands. That is why it says ascend, to go up. Another explanation this is in contrast to that he said to him, Moses, in time of anger, go descend. In time of good he will, and this is understood that in time of good God will ascend for the people of Israel. In bad times it will say descend.
Okay, so
you and the people. Here, he did not say your people, as he said previously in Exodus. For your people have acted corruptly.
So the additional commentary is basically on that actual statement. Here, it does not say, and your people. Further commentary says, as it did above in chapter 32, verse 7, your nation has degraded. There Rashi commented that your nation means the great conglomeration of converts whom Moshe accepted without consulting with God. Here, God did not say your because he did not wish to limit the command to ascend to the land of Israel, to that great conglomeration. So now we go on to verse 2. And I will send an angel before you, and I shall drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, the Hittite, the Bezerite, the Hivite, the Jebusite.
And I will drive out the Canaanites. There are 6 nations listed here, although 7 nations were mentioned in Genesis. And this is because the Girgasites got up and immigrated because of them, the Israelites, of their own accord. And that's written in Yerushalmi.
Okay, so further commentary. This further commentary has to do with Yerushalmi Shvi'it 6:1, Vaikra Rabbah 17:6. Israel was promised the land of 7 nations, from Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Only 6 are mentioned here because this verse refers only to those nations which had to be driven out. The Girgashite left on their own, and that's from Be'er Yitzhak. The next one goes to the next verse, which is verse 3. To a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not ascend in your midst. For you are a stiff-necked people, lest I will annihilate you on the way. That's pretty harsh.
Yep, to a land flowing with milk and honey, I tell you to take them. That means to the Israelites up.
Mm-hmm. Here, that might be helpful.
Because I will not go up in your midst. Therefore, I tell you, I will send an angel before you, because God is not following them because of the Egel, because of the golden calf.
Right.
Since you are stiff-necked people, and when my Shekhinah is in your midst, and you rebel against me, I will increase my fury against you. I will destroy you. That's in Hebrews. An expression of destruction, kilayon. That is totally annihilation.
Okay, so the additional commentary on this one, going back to a land flowing with milk and honey, the additional commentary says, because this verse lacks a main verb, it could have been read as a continuation of the one which precedes it. And I will drive away the Canaanite, the Hittite, and so on and so forth, and a land oozing milk and honey. Rashi explains that the verse is a continuation of verse 1. Go ascend from here, you and the people, to the land which I swore to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, to a land oozing with milk and honey. Okay, so is that actually a more correct translation? Oozing?
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this, last week we spent a lot of time talking about the, not being exactly, it really doesn't change the meaning of the sentence, but the wording is just basically to get the idea across.
Here, unfortunately, the Hebrew, the right side is exactly what it says on the left side. There's no difference.
Okay. So, but the word for flowing.
Yes.
So, is that actually the correct? Is that the actual correct translation? Is it flowing or is it actually oozing?
It's oozing.
Oozing. Okay. So let's see. Going on from there, and I will send an angel before you. The further commentary says, for I will not ascend in your midst, does not provide the reason for the statement which immediately precedes it, that the Israelites will ascend to a land oozing milk and honey. It explains the statement in verse 2 that God will send an angel to lead the people to the land of Israel. That's from Mizrahi Sefri Chachamim. With the regard to rebel against me, I will intensify my rage against you. Further commentary says the verse could have been understood as saying that the quality of stiff-neckedness of the Israelites rendered them too lowly to be worthy of having God ascend in their midst. If this were so, however, there would be no connection between "for you are a stiff-necked people" and "lest I annihilate you along the way." Rashi explains that "for you are a stiff-necked people" does not mean the Israelites were unworthy of God's accompaniment, but it is the reason that might cause him to become enraged at them in the course of their journey, and that might lead to their annihilation. Again, from Be'er Yitzhak. Okay, so we're on to verse 4 here. Well, I forgot to say, okay, so we got down, we have Marshall in the room, and a few people watching in the background. Okay, so verse 4, oh, I want that up, there you go. Okay, verse 4, yeah, I'm going to have to stack these monitors so I don't have to keep looking this way. So, verse 4. The people heard this bad tiding, and they grieved, and they, each man, did not put on his crown. Interesting.
The English translation doesn't really match the Hebrew translation, because what they did is they mourn. You know, when in Judaism, when we lose a loved one and we mourn, we don't put on our fine clothes and everything else, you know. And in the olden days, they used to take a sack full of ashes and put it on their head, and they used to
sackcloth and ashes.
Yeah, so that's what the right side says, but it's okay. The English part is okay, but it's understood.
Well, in the one that you have here says no one put on his finery.
Yeah.
But the word is ketarim, which is crown, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's the translation is not correct.
Right. Okay. So in this case, his crown would be his finery. They're not talking about an actual crown.
Yeah.
They're talking about
their clothes.
Their fancy clothes and stuff like that. Yeah. So the interpretation is actually more accurate than the literal interpretation of the words.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. Further commentary on this. Did we finish all of Rashi's?
Yep.
Okay. Further commentary on this says that really it's just referencing other parts of the... Okay, so... okay, and the crowns that were given to them at Mount Horeb. The additional commentary on this says that from Tractate Shabbat 88, Folio 88a, Rabbi Sameh expounded when Israel said, "We will do before we will listen," from 24/7, 60 myriad, which is 600,000, ministering angels came and wove 2 crowns for each Israelite, one for "we will do," another for "we will listen." But when Israel sinned with the golden calf, 120 myriad, or 1,200,000 destructive angels descended and removed them, as it is written in verse 6 below, and the children of Israel were devastated and their crown of their crowns from Mount Horeb. Okay, let's see. That's okay. That's it. We're down to 5 now. Hashem said to Moshe, so to say to the children of Israel, you are a stiff-necked people. If I ascend among you, I may annihilate you in an instant. And now remove your crown from upon you, and I shall know what I shall do to you.
If I go up into your midst for one moment, I will destroy you. A little bit down.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm reading around. Okay. If I go up into your midst and rebel against me with stubbornness, again, I will be furious with you for one moment, which is the measure of my wrath. As it is said, hide but for one moment until the wrath passes, and I will destroy you. Therefore, it is better for you that I send an angel in my place. But now the punishment you will suffer immediately, that you shall take off your finery, and I will know what to do to you. With the visitation of the rest of the sin, I know what is in my heart to do to you.
Okay, so further commentary on this, going back to I will ascend among you. Further commentary says, I will ascend among you is not to be taken as a declaration, for God said in verse 3 that he would not ascend to the land of Israel among them. Rashi explains that it is a conditional sentence. There is an implicit if in the verse. God is explaining why he will not ascend among them. If he were to ascend among them, they would be annihilated. And that's from Mizrahi Gur Aryeh. Further commentary on this, again with this statement, I would annihilate you. From Tractate Berachot, Folio 7a, the Talmud derives that from this verse that the duration of God's wrath is a rega.
It's but a second.
Yeah, instant.
Mm-hmm.
Two opinions are present in the Talmud regarding the length of a rega. The first is 158,888, or according to a variant reading, 188,888, or 1,888 of an hour. Wow. According to the second opinion, a rega is a amount of time needed to pronounce that word, rega.
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 It says rega echad, 1 second, one split of a second.
Okay.
See, this is where we learn a lot of the stuff too, is because there is, even though a person that commits murder in Israel, he will get the sentence of death, but it's only on paper. It will never be executed.
Right, isn't it? What does it say in the Talmud? It says that any sitting court that passes more than 2 death sentences is determined to be a murderous court.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this the only person that since 75 years or 74 years in the state of Israel, there has been only one execution, and that was a Nazi.
Eichmann.
Yeah, Eichmann. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so with regards to that you will remove your finery or crown from upon yourselves. The further commentary says, and now often introduces a statement that follows from the one that precedes it. Rashi explains that this cannot be so here. The statement which begins with, and now, speaks of a punishment, whereas the one that precedes it, that God would not ascend among the Israelites, was interpreted by Rashi to mean as being to Israelites' benefit. This explains why Rashi's statements explicitly that and now introduces a punishment, from Mizrahi Sefri HaChamim, as by stressing that the punishment is to come immediately, Rashi makes the following point. Above in 32:34, God said that all of the future sufferings of Israel will be partial retribution for the sin of the golden calf. This apparently superfluous and now says that despite this, there is one punishment that the Israelites must suffer immediately. Okay, and again, referring back to this in the to know what the I intend to do with you. The further commentary says, as part of the sin for which removal of their crowns or finery is not sufficient atonement. Okay, so we're on to verse 6 now. Verse 6, it's here somewhere, there it is. So the children of Israel were divested of their crown or finery from Mount Horeb.
The finery from Mount Horeb, the finery that was in their possession from Mount Horeb.
Okay. And the additional commentary says Rashi here resolves the two difficulties. First, in verse 4, we are told that each man did not put on his crown finery. Yet in verse 5, they are commanded, and not remove your finery from upon you. And the second, according to the Talmudic teaching cited above, each Israelite was given 2 crowns, yet in verse 4, 5, and 6, the references are all in the singular, his crown or his finery. Your crown, their crown. Rashi to verse 4 explains that the crown in the verse was one of the 2 crowns that each received at Har Sinai. One for we will do and one for we will listen, presumably when they realized that by worshiping the golden calf, they had broken their promise, we will do, which means we will observe the mitzvot. They voluntarily removed 1 crown that corresponds to we will do. But they left the we will listen crown in place, for they made the resolve to continue studying Torah, even if they had not fulfilled their commitment to observe its mitzvot. To this, God said, one does not go without the other. You cannot learn Torah, yet ignore mitzvot performance. That's a very significant statement there. I like that. You cannot learn Torah, yet ignore mitzvah performance. And you cannot perform mitzvot while ignoring the study of Torah. Therefore, if you don't deserve one of the crowns, you don't deserve the other. Ooh, I like that. I'm going to have that. That's from Mashkil David.
Yeah, the Aramaic is more to the point, because it says, in the English says the finery was in their possession. But the Aramaic says, if you read it, it says, Sheyichye bayedem, that was in their hands. So it's more specific, that each one took off their clothes, their finery. But it was to possess, and is not as clear as when you say, well, I've got these clothes in my hands.
Yeah.
So the translation is the same, but here it's more to the point.
Right. So we're on to verse 7 now. In verse 7, Moshe would take the tent and pitch it outside the camp, far from the camp, and he called it tent of meeting, and would be that whoever would seek Hashem would go out to the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. Okay, so let's get that up where you can read it.
It says, and Moses, from the moment of that sin on, to the present tense, meaning that he would take his stand and pitch it outside the camp. He said, one who is banished from the master is banished from the disciple, Moses being the disciple. Distancing is 2,000 cubits, like the matter that is stated, but there shall be a distance between you and it just 2,000 cubits by the measure. That comes from the Midrash Tahuma. And he called it, and he would call it the tent of meeting. That is the meeting house of those who seek the Torah in God. Anyone seeking the Lord, from here we deduce that one who seeks the presence of a sage and is tantamount to one who seeks the presence of Hashem. Would go out of a standard meeting, it means Yose, that means he will go out, like Yose would go out. Another interpretation that would be that anyone seeking the Lord, even the ministering angels, when they would ask for the place of where the Lord is, or the Shekhinah, their companions would say to them, behold, it is in Moses' tent.
Okay, so additional commentary on this one. Okay, so with regard to he would take the tent, and this is an expression of ongoing activity. Further commentary says, although the verb is in the future form, it is not to be understood as will take, but as takes in the present, or would take in the imperfect. See Rashi to Genesis 26:45. With regard to, let's see, Tehuma. Okay, so one who is banished from the teacher is banished from the student. Additional commentary says from Tehuma 27, they were banished from God's presence, since he said that he would not ascend among them. Moshe, the student, also banished them from his presence, in that he removed his tent from the camp. With regard to this 2,000 cubits, and again, we've talked about this. Actually, my one actually says amot, and fortunately, I do remember that an amot is a cubit. And we've talked about that. The cubit is somewhere between 18 and 20 inches or something like that. So we know that this is about 3,000 feet. So anyway, with regard to that, the additional commentary says 2,000 amot or cubits is the limit of the Tehum, the area in which one may travel on Shabbat.
Correct.
Yep.
I was just going to mention it, but I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I said, well, you know, it's a cubit is 18 inches, it's 3,000 feet. Boom. Yep. That's as far as you can go on Shabbat.
Yep.
Moshe pitched his tent in a place where the Israelites would not be forbidden to come to consult him on Shabbat. Okay. Going on with. Let's see. This one is going to. Okay, it is the tent of meeting. It is the meeting house for those who seek Torah. The additional commentary says, just as in Moshe Vaikach et haOhel v'nata lo, Moshe would take the tent and pitch it. Of the beginning of the verse refers to actions that Moshe would do repeatedly, as Rashi states above. So too does, and he called it, referred to something Moshe would do repeatedly. He would call it tent of meeting. Each time he pitched it as an invitation to those who wish to receive instructions in Torah. Tent of meeting here does not refer to meeting with God, as it does in chapter 30, verse 36 above, and in other earlier verses. Okay. With regard to it is one like one who is in the presence of the Shekhinah. From Tractate Tehuma 27. The verse calls those who sought the presence of Moshe as seekers of God, as if to say that they are one and the same. Apparently, the extra kol, anyone, implies that the same holds true with regard to one who seeks the presence of any elder, not only Moshe. With regard to the word Yitzay, has the same meaning as Yotze. Here too, the future form is used to indicate the imperfect. Okay, and let's see. One more.
Well, Yetze means will go out. Yotze means would go out. Just
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so with regard to see that it is in the tent of Moses, the further commentary says, again from Tehuma 27, Rashi provides another explanation for the apparent superfluous kol. And there, so we a lot of unpacking on that one. So, verse 8, and it would be when Moshe will go out to the tent, all the people would rise and they would stand, everyone at the entrance of his tent, and they would gaze after Moshe until he would arrive at the tent. You probably want to see Rashi's commentary.
mm-hmm. So, the word is vahaya. It's a present tense. When Moses would go out of the camp to go to the tent, he would go out of the camp to go to the tent. All the people would rise. They would stand before him and not sit down until he was concealed from them. It's basically they would stand because in the tent it said that the Shekhinah was in the tent, in Moses' tent. And they would gaze after Moses in admiration. They would say, fortunate is one born of a woman who is so assured by God that the Shekhinah follows him to the entrance of his tent. And basically, God or Shekhinah, the Shekhinah, Hashem, was always following Moses, but he did not die. If he was among the people, they would be all dead.
Right. Okay, so further commentary on this, that the V'chayeh, and it would be, the further commentary on this says, that it is not to be understood as the simple past, and it is in the imperfect. With regard to, they would stand before him and would not sit. Rashi explains the apparent redundancy of the Yukumu would rise, and the
well, they said that people would rise, but the Hebrew translation of Vayukomo Kol Ha'am, what they stood up, all stood up.
Yeah, would rise and stand.
Omed means to stand. You know, Omdim mifnei ve'en yoshvim at shenachachtu mehem. So they would stand before him, but not sit down until he was out of sight.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's a different translation between Yakomo and Omdim. Okay.
Right. And that's exactly what the additional commentary says, almost word for word. Okay, so let's see, and the entrance of the tent. Okay, so that's the that's the end of the additional commentary. We're on to verse 9. Checking on the time here. We'll do verse 9, and then we'll go ahead and we'll take our break. Verse 9, and it would be when Moshe would arrive at the tent, a pillar of cloud would descend and stand at the entrance of the tent, and he would speak with Moshe.
Okay, I'll make a commentary before that. You know, there is a saying, and there's a pasuk in the Torah and in the Bible. It says, "Ashrei hu ish shelo hulach ba'atzas reshuyim." It says, "Blessed is the man who does not go in the way of the wicked." Hello?
Okay.
And he will speak to Moses. It says, "Vaidaber," like daber, and he would speak in the present tense. Its Aramaic translation is tamalel im Moshe. That means he will speak to himself with Moses, which is denoting respect that God had. He had heard the voice speaking medaber to him, but one does not read medaber elav. When one reads medaber, it means that the voice would speak to itself, and the commoner would hear by himself. But when one reads medaber, it means that the king speaks with the commoner. It's a little bit confusing, but...
Mm-hmm. Okay, so... Okay.
I mean, if I read the Hebrew part, it would be different, but, let's go with what the Rashi says.
Yeah. Rashi actually, in my edition, actually says a little bit more. He goes into more on, the dalet with a dagesh and the mim with the hirek and the dalet with the dagesh and stuff like that. So, okay, so further commentary on this one. With respect to in which way is a way of showing respect to the Shekhinah. Further commentary says this phrase is not to be understood, and he would speak to Moshe. This would imply direct communication between the Shekhinah and Moshe, and he would be speaking implies less than direct communication in the sense that the Targum indicates by translating it, and he would speak to himself. In the verse means speaking to in the simple sense. It would be disrespectful to God by putting him on a level with Moshe. Interesting. Okay. With regard to this whole thing about the mem and the dagesh and the dalet and the midaber, is the reflexive hispael conjunction, and in the contraction of the midaber, the tav is hispael, is often omitted for the word first, whose first root letter is either dalet, as here, or the tav, as the word mitaher in Leviticus, which is like mitaher, the first root letter, then takes a dagesh to indicate the missing tav. The dagesh in the dalet of midaber serves a different function. It follows the rule that the letters vet, gimel, dalet, hey, pei, and tav take a dagesh at the beginning of the syllable or syllable, depending on how you pronounce it.
Confusing enough?
Yeah. So, and again, Rashi is writing this for children. Okay, so that comment goes to the next one. Okay, so We're on to verse 10. Oh, I said we were going to take. Yeah, we're going to take our break now. Okay, so we'll take our break, and when we return.
I want to hear some comments from the room.
Yeah. So, yeah. I said, yeah, there was some comments about the oozing and the flowing. And Donald says, so stiff-necked people is not a good thing. Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Okay, so let's. I'm gonna turn you down for a moment.
Okay.
Okay, and we're going to take our break now, and we will return in 6. So stay tuned.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
And we are back. Okay, so let's bring Rabbi Ancel back in here. And
I am here.
you're back?
Yep.
Okay, let's see. We left off on, okay, so we're at verse 10 now. Which I think actually starts on the previous page. There it is. Okay, so all the people would see the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance of the tent, and the people would rise, and they bowed, everyone at the entrance of his tent. So we might want to scroll that up for you.
Okay. They would prostrate themselves to God.
Okay. So the further commentary here says that although the verse says that they bowed toward the entrance of Moshe's tent, it was not the entrance itself to which they were bowing. They were bowing to the Shekinah, which they perceived in that direction. Because, as you said earlier, the Shekinah followed Moshe.
That God was inside the tent.
Okay, so we're on to verse 11. So, well, it's a lot of commentary there. Okay, so verse 11, Hashem would speak to Moshe face to face, as a man would speak with his fellow, and he would return to the camp. His servant, Yehoshua, son of Nun, a lad, would not depart from within the tent. And this commentary goes on and on and on. Okay, so you are...
Then the Lord would speak to Moses face to face. Moshe. That is experienced in verse 9. And he would return to the camp. After he spoke with him, Moses would return to camp and teach the elders what he had learned. Moses conducted himself in this way from Yom Kippur until the Mishkan was erected. But no more than that, for on the 17th of Tammuz, the tablets were broken, and on the 18th, he burned the calf and judged the sinners. And on the 19th, he went up on Mount Sinai, as it is said. It came to pass on the next day that Moses said to the people, which is in Exodus, he spent 40 days there and begged the mercy, as it is said, and I cast myself down before the Lord. And that's in Deuteronomy. On Rosh Chodesh Elul, it was said, and in the morning you shall ascend Mount Sinai to receive the second tablets. And he...
Okay, let me scroll that up for you.
And and I remained upon the mountain just as the first days, just as the first ones were with goodwill from the 7th of Sivan to the 17th of Tammuz. So were the last days with goodwill. We may deduce from this that the intermediate ones were with wrath. On the 10th of Tishrei, the Holy One, blessed he be, was appeased to Israel joyfully and wholeheartedly, And he said to Moses, I have forgiven as you have spoken. He, God, gave over to him the second tablets, and he, Moses, descended, and God began commanding him concerning the word of the Mishkan. They constructed it until the first of Nisan, and once it was erected, he no longer spoke with him except from the tent of meeting. That's in Midrash Tahumah, in Seder Olam. And he would return to the camp. This Aramaic translations, can you lower it a little bit?
Pardon?
Can you lower it a little bit?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And he would return to the camp. Its Aramaic translation, Letoch Mishorita, is meaning that he would return to the camp because it is to the present tense. So in Aramaic translation, the entire section of all the people would see Vero'ah, and they would stand beneath bow, and Kayumin, and they would gaze, Vihibitu, which means imutpal or imistakelin, and they would prostrate themselves, Vehishtachvu, they knelt in front of God. Sgadin, which is the simple meaning of the verse, which depicts Moses' usually conduct from Yom Kippur until the Mishkan was erected. The Midrashic interpretation, however, is, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying that he should return to camp, and that the Lord said to him, I am angry, and you are angry. Who then will bring them near to me? That's also in Midrash Tahumah.
Okay. So, additional commentary. Let's see, we go to 5 here. Let's see, that's just a reference to Rashi above. Let's see, let's get down here. Okay, so with regards to the 18th, Moshe burned the calf and judged the sinners, and on the 19th he ascended the mountain a second time. The additional commentary says, Rashi here follows the opinion of the Midrash Tahumah, that Moshe ascended on the 19th in his comments to 18:13 above and to Deuteronomy 9:18. He follows the opinion of Siddur Olam Rabbah that Moshe ascended on the 18th. Okay, so a lot of references to other places in the Torah until we get to, once it was erected, he would not communicate with Moshe except from the tent of meeting, i.e. the Mishkan. Further commentary says here from Siddur Olam 6, Tahumah 31, our verse is not talking about those days when Moshe was on the mountain, nor is it describing the middle 40-day period which God was angry with Israel and would not appear to them. It describes only the period from the final descent from the mountain on the 10th of Tishrei, Yom Kippur, to the erection of the Mishkan on the 1st of Nisan. Okay, going back to here, I am angry with Israel, and you are angry at Israel. Further commentary says, although Rashi stated above that Moshe began this practice after Yom Kippur, and that on Yom Kippur God was placated toward Israel joyfully and wholeheartedly, he did not forgive them fully until he rested his Shekinah among them when the Mishkan was erected on the 1st of Nisan. Thus Rashi can say that even after Yom Kippur, he was angry at Israel. Okay, and with regard to, therefore, despite his anger, Moshe returned to the camp. Tahumah 27, Berachot 63b, see Rashi there, according to Targum Onkelos, on all the verbs, here are participles. According to the Midrashic interpretation, El Moshe Daber Adonai is not, and Adonai would, or Hashem would not, would speak to Moshe, but rather, and Hashem spoke to Moshe. in the past. Similarly, V'shav el hamachane. Get the magnifying glass. Hamachane is not rendered, and he would return to the camp, but rather, and he returned to the camp.
Hamachne means the camp.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that's all of the further commentary. So we go on to verse 12 now. Moshe said to Hashem, "Look, you say to me, take this people onward, but you did not inform me whom you will send with me. Yet you said, I have made you known with high repute, and you have also found favor in my eyes." I probably should roll that up for you. Okay.
So it says, look, you say to me, that's the Hebrew ra'eh, literally say, see. Direct your eyes and your heart and your words. Think about what you're saying. You say to me, but you have not informed me. Who will come with us? You said to me, behold, I am sending you an angel. Yet this is not considered informing, because I do not want it to occur this way. So this is, to me, is confusing. Direct your eyes and your heart and your words. Think about what you are saying. You say to me, you lead me, but you have not informed me. Who will come with us? But you said to me, behold, I'm sending you an angel. Yet this is not considered informing me, because I do not want it to occur this way. You know what that means. Moses is saying that God informed him that he's sending an angel to lead him to Israel. Mm-hmm. And Moses is saying, but you didn't tell me that I'm going to. You didn't inform me about anything. So that's why he said, behold, I'm sending you an angel, but it's not considered an information, because Moses didn't want it to occur this way. Moses wanted to be part of it. And you said, I have known you by name, which means that God is saying, I have recognized you from other people with a name of importance. For God said to Moses, behold, I am coming to you in the thickness of the cloud, and they will also believe you forever.
Okay, so let's kind of try and see if we can unpack this. So based on this whole, behold, I am sending you an angel, this is not considered informing, for I do not desire it. From Shemot Rabbah 32:8 and 45:4, the simplest understanding of the verse would be, but you did not inform me, excuse me.
Bless you.
But you did not inform me whom you would send with me, which would have implied that Moshe complained about not being informed of the identity of the angel who would be sent with him. By raising the question from the verse, behold, I am sending an angel, Rashi points out that this is not the meaning of the verse. The verse makes no reference to the identity of the angel, and thus would not appear to contradict our verse. If its subject were Moshe, complaint over not knowing who the angel would be, rather, Rashi understands our verse, but you did not inform me that you would send another with me. Moshe was complaining about the very fact that an angel would be sent with him, irrespective of whom the angel would be. Rashi therefore raises the question that Moshe was informed earlier that an angel would be sent with him. He answers that it is not considered informing, for Moshe did not desire it. That is, as Rashi commented in the verse, on that verse, God was informing Moshe that in the future Israel would sin and that the Shekinah would not ascend with them to the land of Israel. Moshe here complains that although God had informed him there that he would not ascend with the sinners, still you did not inform me that you would send an angel with me. I thought that I and those like me who would not sin would be worthy of your direct accompaniment. I do not desire it. I do not want to sin, and I do not want to suffer the consequences of sin. From Be'er Basadeh. Well, that was a long one.
And this is the problem now in Israel, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Hashem has got an angel watching over Israel, but he would not. He's not in the presence of Israel because we're still sinners.
Yeah, they just they just keep descending and descending. And I've talked about this before. I've told people about this before, and I've actually shown them that there are things you can actually see in the Torah. Like the splitting of the sea. You can see it in the Song of the Sea. Mm-hmm. It's very plain there. The brick walls in the Torah. You can see them. The capstone, the bricks, the foundation stone, all that stuff. And then when God talks about the sins and then turning back, but if you don't, then this is going to happen and this is going to happen. There are actually steps. You actually look at it, it looks like a set of steps descending further and further and further down until it gets to the bottom where everything gets really bad. And basically, the state of Israel right now is basically running down the steps. That's just crazy.
We don't need outside enemies. I said most of the outside enemies want to be friends with Israel. We have our enemies within our own, the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox, walking around with a Palestinian flag.
Yeah.
And wearing stramloch and wearing long payas. I just don't get it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, even the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, as adamant as he was against declaring the state of Israel.
Oh yeah.
As soon as it was done, he said, "Go to Israel."
Yeah.
He encouraged. In fact, he I believe there was a bunch of Jews who were in France, and they were scheduled. Chabad was bringing them, and they were going to come to Canada. That was the original plan. But once the UN had partitioned, Palestine, he told them, you're not coming to Canada any longer. You're going to Israel. So I mean, even the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, said, well, it's done. But if there is a state of Israel, we should be there.
Yeah, the same thing with Schneerson. He was very, very, very pro-Israel.
Yeah.
But I don't know from who these Haredi Jews are. I don't know what their background is, and I was never interested.
Oh, they're a very small group.
It doesn't matter. A small group still does damage. There are some Haredi Jews in Toronto who are walking down the street, and in their Chabad houses and their Sephardic synagogues right across the streets, and they're walking around with Palestinian flags.
Yeah. At least, the Satmar is not in favor of the state of Israel either.
Oh,
but
the Satmar Rebbe?
yeah, but they
He
don't go about doing that kind of stuff.
Was he a smart man? You better believe it. He was a
Yoel
smart.
Teitelbaum?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's screwed so many Jews. They were very wealthy. They come from my country, from Romania. You know.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they were maybe 2 or 3 hour trip away from my town. One of the wealthiest people in the world. So much hatred towards the state of Israel, and you're a Jew. I can't swallow it. I just can't.
Well, you know, there's a really great lecture that was done by Rabbi Noam Schiller, who is a baseball encyclopedia, walking on 2 legs. It just amazes me. But he's in Eretz Israel, and he's made the comment before that is this Israel going to turn into Eretz Israel? Yeah, and he says, I don't know. I don't know if this will be the final iteration or not. But he says, I'm staking my life and my family's life on it.
Yeah. Here's my question: what are the Haredi Jews doing so that Mashiach is going to come? What do they do? I'd like somebody to explain to me.
Yeah.
What are they doing? What are they doing in Israel? What good do they bring to the state of Israel? They don't go to the army. They don't work.
Yeah.
They do nothing. They study, and Israel pays for them. And some of them, anywhere between 10 and 20 children.
Yeah.
They're actually following the Bible because it says, thou shalt multiply like the sands of the earth.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't say sit in the study house all day.
Them?
I mean, the Torah is very explicit that there's value in work.
Oh, most definitely. But so I don't know. It's.
Well, I mean, even during the Maccabean revolt and the Bar Kokhba revolt, the students in the yeshivas left the yeshivas. They went out to fight, and they just left those that were under 20 years of age, stayed at the yeshiva and continued studying Torah. But those that were 20 years of age and up, just like it says in the Torah, they left the study hall. They left the study hall and went out to fight. So,
well, how else are you going to defend your country?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense for them to not serve in the army, because it's a direct violation of what God said in the Torah.
It's like I said. I had some major not complaints, discussions today with some rabbis that I know in the state of Florida. Both, some of them are Chabad and some of them are not. And some of them blocked me. Some of them cussed at me. Some of them agreed with me. And I said, look, you're a rabbi, you know that Jewish law, you can bend it. There are certain circumstances where the mother or the baby is at risk for death. There are certain instances where abortion is the preferred route. But if you have 2 consenting adults and they have sex and she gets pregnant, if you don't want the baby, there's millions and millions of people that don't have children. Give it to them.
Yeah.
But if you decide, after having consensual sex, you decide to have an abortion, this is murder and you should be put to death. That's my opinion. And Anybody in the room that wants to curse me, go ahead.
That's
But
you
that
know,
is my,
after the fact is not the time to determine if you want a child or not. When you're
you-
when you're in the sack, you should be thinking about that. I mean, this abortion is not a contraceptive. Shouldn't
it's
even be
not.
considered that. It shouldn't be considered a family planning or Planned Parenthood, which is the biggest misnomer I've ever heard in my life. You're not planning parenthood anything.
Look, in France, about 65% of the women are cursed. They can't have children. During the Ceausescu's rule in Romania for the 25 years, he sold to France more than 50,000 children. He told the mother that had the baby that the baby died,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he sold 50,000 children to parents in France who couldn't have any children for $10,000 apiece. So there are millions of people who would want to have a baby. Why kill the baby? That's murder. It's simply, I don't know any other word.
Yeah.
Because if it's consensual, it's consensual. It's understood.
Well,
Yes, the baby's sick,
yeah.
or or the mother's in danger of dying. Go ahead.
Well, it
But
even gets worse than that, because I mean they're proposing that a child can be aborted even after it has been delivered.
that's even
I
worse
mean
murder.
that's absolutely astounding that they would go to that point to say that okay, well, you've delivered a live baby, and now you decide, well, maybe I don't want it, and we'll kill it. That's
I've told you many times, I love the United States more than some of the people born in the United States. But what's happened since somebody came into power, and he came into power, and he was not even elected. He doesn't even know what world he lives on. And then he's got a vice president who, I don't know.
a cackling baboon,
And you're going to give
a
somebody
braying jackass.
you're going to give somebody who's brain dead, you're going to give him the codes to the nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
What's happened in the United States? I love this country. I love the people. But what you're doing to the veterans of the war, these people gave you a free country, and you treat them worse than these illegals coming into the country, and you're giving them money. What's going on with the United States? Such a shame.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something: the damage that has been done to the United States, it will not take 1 year to recover.
No.
It will take years upon years upon years.
Well, this whole progressive movement started over 100 years in the late 1800s, and it has taken us 100 years, a little over 100 years, 120 years to get to this point. It's not gonna be reversed overnight. It may take at least that long to get it back to where we were.
And yesterday in West Germany, there was a flight going, I don't know where it was going to.
Oh,
And
Lufthansa flight,
were not allowed on the flight.
right?
And people really believe that the German people, their genes are not the same. It's always been. It's in their genes. Nothing will ever change the way a Nazi thinks. And I'm not saying that all Germans are Nazis, but it's in their genes. Anything and everything that happens in this world, a Jew will be blamed.
Yeah.
This lady that got shot yesterday, it was not shot by the IDF,
Yeah, the
but
Palestinian woman.
it's easier to blame Israel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So what are they going to do? I'm sure there's going to be a retaliation, and another 3 or 4 Israelis are going to get killed, and then this is going back and forth. Israel has to decide.
Well, I'll just repeat what I've been saying for years. Kahani was right.
Yep. Somebody commits a murder, This is the only law that I believe in communism. Communism, Russia did it the right way. You committed a murder, and there was two witnesses or whatever. You committed murder. You admitted to the murder. You went in front of three judges. In Russia, there was no criminal lawyers. There was no. You went in front of three judges. He looked at, opened the book. Oh, you committed murder? Okay, today is Tuesday. On Thursday, you will be shot. That was it.
Yeah.
The three judges raised their hand, and you were carried out, and Thursday you were shot. Now, if Israel caught these three people who committed a murder, puts them against the wall and shoots them, well, it may take a few executions, but eventually somebody's going to, oh, well, today
Well,
I'm
yeah,
going to
they
go.
know they can. They know they can sit in prison, and their family is going to be paid, and they're going to get education and 3 square meals a day, and stuff like that. You know, and they're going to be bartered, and traded, and they're going to be free, and they'll be
Yes.
heroes.
But if you do a few executions, there's got to be one of them that's going to say, wait just a second. I know that I'm going to kill somebody, but at the same time, I'm going to get the bullet. Well, should I do it or shouldn't I do it? Once you start thinking about it, people will change their mind. But Israel has no balls. Excuse the language. They lost their balls since Moshe Dayan.
Yeah.
And, you know, they have a way, they're not Palestinians, whatever they are, Hamas or whatever. They have a mission. Kill them slowly, 4, 5, 6, 7. Believe it or not, you know, it was, you know, Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's 24,000 kids that gave their lives. And it goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up, and there's mothers, and there's wives, and there's children left without fathers. Girls who are in the army get killed. You catch them, you execute them. Not a trial. I'm sorry. You caught him, you put him against the wall, shoot him, and demolish the house. You do it once, twice, 3 times, 10 times, 20. All of a sudden, somebody's going to wake up and says, well, you know what? I'm not doing it. And until they don't do this, crime will go on. And I am mad at Bennett. I am mad at a lot of things. It's not because, and I'm not preaching this. I'm not preaching the executions of death. But even the Torah says an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
Well, the Torah says when you go out against the enemy who comes against you in your land, you're to have no mercy on them.
No.
The Torah actually said that. I mean, that's the Torah the Milchama, the Torah of war.
But unfortunately, the secular state they just don't care.
Well, look at what happened with Rabbi Lior, who wrote that book about the laws, the Torah laws about warfare, and he wrote it as a way for soldiers to understand what they were allowed to do according to Torah law. And they banned the book. I've been trying to get a copy of it for years. Can't get it.
I don't know. Don't know.
And they vilified him. They threatened to throw him in prison for writing that book. And he's writing exactly what the Torah says that you have to do when you're in a situation of war.
Well, I think the entire Israeli government, and that's a problem. The Supreme Court, although they have one of the smartest Supreme Court justices in Israel, and it happens to be a Muslim, but she deserves to be in the Supreme Court, and she's the one who's saying that she doesn't understand the law. And she's a Muslim.
Yeah.
You have the chief rabbis, Sephardic and Ashkenazi rabbi, going at each other. It's not, then this has nothing to do with them disagreeing with the law of conversion. It just has to do with who's going to be in charge.
Right.
I want to be in charge. So because they had made a deal a few years ago that the two chief judges,
Well,
each one
why
will
didn't we
serve
see
as
that?
the
Why
chief
didn't
judge 1 year, and then the next year is the other rabbi, and they just go back and forth. Have they done it? No. So nobody's in charge.
Yeah, but why didn't we see that with the previous chief Sephardic rabbi?
Why you didn't see?
Yeah,
You know who he was,
Ovadia.
and he didn't take any bullshit. I'm sorry.
That's right.
You know, if he didn't do it according to Ovadia, he said, that's too bad. You either do it my way, or you have choose. Choose the highway or go out of Israel. It's simple. And it can be still simply done, but I truly believe that the Israelis have lost their basin. They've lost their balls.
Well, I think they lost their mind. I mean, yeah, I mean they keep doing this under pressure from the outside world, who could care less about what happens to the Jews.
You don't have to ask. You don't have to ask Russia. You don't have to ask United States. Russia's not going to bomb Israel.
Well, I'd say
United
that's
States is not going to bomb Israel. If Iran is stupid enough to try something to bomb Israel, Iran will last exactly 10 minutes.
yeah.
Most people believe. I would say Israel. I would say it's probably in the top 6 or 7 countries that have nuclear weapons. No, I was in Israel 30 years ago, and I trained with the Israeli Air Force. I was trained with the IAF because we trained in night flying. Friday night, I was in Tel Aviv, and I was sitting in a restaurant, a kosher restaurant. It was Friday night, and a Rav Aluf, and in Hebrew it means, translated means a general, came in with his lovely wife, and they sat at a table not far from me. And the waiter right away, he recognized them and ran right away. He came in and put a small bottle of cognac in front of him, and I mean, the guy was so happy to see this general. And I finally approached him, and we spoke. And he said to me, if Russia wants to come, let him come. If the United States wants to come, we will lose part of Israel, but they will lose a lot more. And he says, we don't care. We are going to survive. Mm-hmm. He says, I am the general of this and this and this and this. I get children coming into the army. They're going to do the army for 2 years and 3 years, but they're children. He says, I guarantee you, there's not one that's going to walk out that's not going to be a man. Yeah. He says, when they leave and they graduate, they are men, fully knowledgeable about war. It's unfortunate that it has to be that way. I'd rather see them in school or universities. Yeah. But it is what it is, and
yeah, it's survival. It comes right down to that.
Survival.
Okay, well, we're at the end of our time, so I'm going to turn you down for a moment while we go out. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And remember, we have 2 more sessions before we go on our summer break, so don't miss the last 2 sessions, and then we'll pick up back after the High Holy Days and continue on with our study. Okay, so let's see. Friday night at 8 p.m. is Kabbalat and Mariv Shabbat service, and on Shabbat at 10 a.m. is Shacharit and Musaf. And before I forget it, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tachenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. And Monday night, 8 p.m. is Zeta Story Corner. Tuesday night is the Rabbis Discuss, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. and we'll see what we're going to discuss. I don't know if we're going to continue on the education one or if we're going to pick something else. But I think Rabbi Ancel may actually be out of the country. So and then again, right back here on Wednesday for the Torah study. So until then, everyone, we'll simply say, Laila Tov.